You are listening to Museek's Behind the Musos.
Hi, I'm Raphael Love, and you're listening to The Same Dream Over Again. It's my song. And I'm from Melbourne and make art pop music.
Hey guys, welcome back to Behind the Muso. I am Josh. I am joined by Will and Raphael. Raphael, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Very good.
That's very good. All right, well, let's get into it. So your song, The Same Dream, came out a little bit ago. How do you feel about it since its release?
I mean, yeah, I feel good. You know, at first I was a little bit, gee, I hope this is received well, but it's gone well. It's got national airplay. It's got international airplay. It was on some New York radio stations and stuff like that. And I was over the moon by that kind of reception. And, you know, I have had people giving me compliments about parts of it that I had no idea that, I didn't even see as pretty in it. And people talk about the lush arrangements and how they love that sort of thing. And I'm like, thank you so much,
That's awesome.
So, I mean, I feel good. Feel good. Feel positive.
Good to hear, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that really stood out to me when I was listening to it is the instrumentation. So I want to ask a little bit about that. How did you go about choosing your instrumentation? So I am a classically trained cellist, and I loved the cello. So you mentioned off air that you're a guitarist, and how did those other instruments come to play?
So I play the guitar and I play the piano and all those sort of things. And well, I mean, I don't know, because I can't read music. I've never been able to read music except for like, guitar-y chords and tabs and stuff. Never been able to read the notation and the theory. So I worked with my producer, Joshua Moriarty of Miami Horror and currently Telenova. He's a great guy. He's got plenty of instruments and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I feel like this section needs a cello, needs some sort of deep string instrument. So he has a little MIDI keyboard. We ran through a part. I was like, okay, I just sort of did it by feel, and then he notated it. And we brought in a session cellist, and she was amazing. She was really nice. She'd been doing it for ages, and she just ran through it, and it sounded lovely, and it all just sort of fit like a nice puzzle.
I know, and I have to say, it's a beautiful instrument.
This sounds a little biased.
For celebrating the cello.
Difficult to take on the bus if you're learning at school.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I did it for 12 years.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but it's actually really admirable that even though you could have just settled with MIDI strings, that you went to the effort to actually get a proper cellist, because you can tell the difference, and it's just another layer of authenticity, which I think sometimes people miss, but the people who appreciate it really appreciate it. And so I think therefore it's like worth it, So thank you for that. Really adds to it.
Of course.
So when you're releasing music, do you feel a sort of pressure, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I feel the pressure. Speaking about it before, it's just like it's the idea of wanting to get everything right, wanting to get the timing right, wanting to get the reception right, wanting to make sure that the song sounds right. And you're a singer, there's a good chance that you're not a huge fan of the sound of your own voice, or you're always like finding these tiny faults. I guess people who make TV shows or make movies or whatever, or books, even authors. I'm an author myself, so I feel this. So it's like you put a work out there and you look at it a day later, a week later, and a month later, and you're like, oh, there's that little bit there. I should have just rephrased that sentence, or I should have sung that tiny bit better. And my producer, Josh Moriarty, has said he's real hard on me in that case. He's like, no, that sounds good. Stop doing it. Sounds good. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah.
And that's so interesting to hear how it's probably something to do with your personality, that in the various arts that you engage with, in the art of writing and the art of music as well, that you're the same in both aspects. So how do you feel that impacts on your creative process as you go through in actually producing the song?
I'm trying to I'm trying to suppress it so that I can get a much richer output. I mean, this is the only song I currently have released, but I have other songs that are sitting there ready to be released, sort of thing. One of those songs, it took about a 6-hour session. It's got even more instruments than this song, and yet that other song has less instruments and took I don't know, over 30 hours of refiguring out. It's a complete song, but there's just always something wrong. And then I'm like, nah, it's it. Scrap everything. Let's start again. It happened like 3 times. And I think it's just getting over this sort of almost insecurity of not trusting yourself or not trusting the song to be complete. Something like that.
And do you find that's one of the beautiful aspects of the music that you create, that you can come back to it a couple of months later and consider it to be imperfect?
God, I wish. No, I mean, I want to. So, what I do is I will just not touch it generally. I will just not listen to it because I know that. Thank you very much, ambulance. I know that if I do, I will see something, I will hear something, and I'll go, no. So I've got to be like, okay, the day that it was put out, the day that I said, put the stamp on it, this is done, this is complete. Everybody said, it's good. Finished. I must trust that and not think, oh, you know what, gotta go back and fix it. Gotta trust myself, gotta trust how it was on the day. Yeah.
Definitely.
Pretty much.
It's a common theme here, actually. A lot of people, commonly just doubt themselves. And it's actually quite a talent to be able to deal with that. It's like, no, I got it. It's fine. It's good,
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of just overthinking it the whole time, because it's very, very common.
For sure.
You are your own worst enemy. This is the popular saying. So,
big time.
So within the whole creative process, what is your favorite part? Is it hearing what the producer has written for the first time? Is it getting a new idea? Is it the final mix? What is your favorite part in the whole process?
For me, it is because sometimes it's writing the songs, because obviously I love writing the songs, stuff like that. I write too many songs. I've had to stop writing songs and just focus on, rehearsing and stuff. But too many. And so sometimes you'll have a song that'll just come to you like that, complete, and it'll just be a beautiful process. You almost not want to give it up. You always not want to finish writing it and putting it on paper, because you'd be like, oh, it's just such a good feeling. I don't want to shut the door on that feeling just yet. Otherwise, it would be the very final touches after you've recorded the main vocal, after you've recorded all the instruments, and you're adding, for example, The Same Dream has some atmospheric effects at the start of wind. And it's just those tiny little, like a little garnish on the top of a dish. It's all finished. You're plating up, and you're just like a little bit of salt there, a little bit of cinnamon, whatever. And it's just, that everything's settled, and you're just having a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
That's a good
all
part.
The small details that just add that much more flavor.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So I want to ask now about the work behind the scenes. How do you go about marketing your music and recording artwork? How to decide where to publish it and things like that?
So in terms of all that, I just sort of do a lot of that myself. I consult my producer. He's very helpful because he's done all of that sort of stuff with his Miami horror group, and he's currently doing it with his Talent Over group and stuff like that. They do a lot of their own things, and they're on Triple J's Hottest 100. I think they're about 96 or something like that. But I just I admire that sort of self-creation of everything, and I just sort of read about things and work out where to publish my music, what companies to go with, or talk to some different people. And when it comes to making album art or single art in this case, it's actually my own photography. I do it on myself. So I design the layout, and I produce the photos, or rather find photos that I've taken previously that work. And I use that. So it's yeah, it's all self sort of produced.
Lovely. And you mentioned earlier about your song was featured on some playlists and in the New York radio um, kind of circuit.
Yep.
So, how did that come about, or how did you find out that people were picking up your song to use it?
Um, funny enough for that one, I actually got a call at 8:30 in the morning, or it was something like that. It was some crazy hour. I mean, I shouldn't say 8:30 is a crazy hour, but it was a Sunday morning.
Fair enough.
So, and it was like, I think it was a music supervisor for what is it, like WNTB University Radio in upstate New York somewhere, and it was a lovely lady, Leanne, I believe her name was. And she's just like, I've heard your song and it's fantastic. I'm like, how'd you find it? She's like, oh, through Spotify, you recommended. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, what the heck? This is so random. I totally didn't see this coming first thing on a Sunday morning. And yeah, from that, she actually was very good friends with a couple of other radio stations in upstate New York, and I made it to the edges of New York City. I'm not going to say New York City, but the edges of New York City. And yeah, so it was exciting.
And how did that impact on your Spotify listener numbers or other metrics like that? Did it take off? Did you see a big spike?
Yeah, I definitely saw a good spike, and I saw some nice different regions. I already had a decent degree of US listeners, but I definitely saw a lot more for a good period of time there. So it was nice to see some sort of diversity in the spread of continents and countries.
Awesome. Next step is to get a billboard in Times Square, I reckon.
Yeah, you got 10 million?
So you've touched on about how being a perfectionist has become an obstacle in your writing.
Yep.
How will you deal with that in your future releases? Do you have anything like that you want to try out, like some, I guess, coping methods? I don't know if that's the right term, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying for sure. Like I already am implementing it, especially in terms of recording, in terms of preparing for live performance and stuff like that. Like I had a fantastic live performance last Saturday night that was, went great. It was my first time in a little while. Thank you very much. First time in a little while because of lockdowns and cancer performances and stuff like that. But it's just really the idea, like I was saying, just getting out there and trying to be comfortable with what you have and what you have produced, and not freaking out about getting something the tiniest little bit wrong. It's almost like to look at it in a bit of a funny way, it's almost like a punk attitude, punk music and stuff like that. Johnny Rotten, the Sex Pistols, he didn't care if his voice was God Save the Queen. It wasn't a beautifully sung melody or anything in any sense. It was just God Save the Queen. So like I just feel that sort of energy and that sort of feeling inside of me to just bloody get on with it. You know what I mean? Let's just, if you're ready, you've got the stuff, do it.
Yeah,
that's as much as
that's really interesting to hear. So, looking forward to the future, what direction do you intend to take with your music? Do you plan to try out new sounds, instruments, maybe branch into new genres, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I do actually. I love the two next songs that are up for release have, like I say, a similar arrangement, but they are lush in some way. They do have strings. One of them has a nice gliding harp section, things like that, harmoniums and things, and all those sort of funny instruments. But I am looking to find more simplistic ways and not needing to fill out all the sounds, to the absolute walls. As much as I adore Pet Sounds and the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson's, mindset and all of that sort of thing in terms of instrumentation, orchestral arrangement, I just feel like sometimes I need to sort of put that away for a little bit and just present the song as it is, get the hook out there, get the melody and the lyrics out there for what it is. So yeah, I think that there will be a slight change in sound, more of a simplification. Yeah.
Awesome. Sometimes it's best to keep it simple. Like, it's
Sure.
awesome to just, go crazy and do all that. But, sometimes it's best to just have silences and, keep it simple. So that's interesting.
100%.
I'm looking forward to listening to that.
Me too.
So, what do you have a rough 5-year plan between now and I guess 5 years from now, which is 2027? Like, where do you want to take your music? Do you have like goals,
Nah.
or are you just going to take it day by day?
It's, I mean, it has to be a day by day process. I've never had an answer to what was your 5-year goal. Everyone's gotten that at some point in their life. And even outside of music, even I was going to say, even when I was, 10, what's your 5-year plan? That seems pretty crazy. But, I remember hearing that years ago and stuff like that. When you're in year 12 or whatever, what's your 5-year plan? I've never had an answer, because I feel like you can only prepare so much. If you prepare yourself for that, unless, of course, you're like, oh, I'm going to do medicine, so I'm going to be at university for 4 years or 5 years, and then I'm going to specialize in something. Yeah, like music is just it's an open ocean sort of thing. I have to take each wave as it comes. So yeah, one day at a time.
All right. I think that's a lovely note to finish on. So, Raphael, why don't you give the listeners what they want? Where can they find you? How can they stay up to date with new releases?
All right, you can find me on Instagram at raphaellove.music. And you can also find me on my website, which is just raphaellovemusic.com. And I chose raphaellove.music.com because raphaellove.com costs something like $60,000 to own, because someone owns it and nobody uses it. Who knows? And you can also find me on Spotify and all streaming platforms.
Perfect.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Really enjoyed it.
You.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It's fantastic.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform to never miss another episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Museek.app for all the latest updates and constant music recommendations. Be sure to head over to our website, museekdiscovery.com, to find our track of the week, curated playlist, blogs, and so much more.